Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a refreshing, energetic, and an exciting afternoon. As we move now, my name is Mahesh Kumar. I am Head of Solution Quality and Assurance and Agile Coach at TMR&D. I welcome and thank you all for joining us today. Special thanks to our Chairman of TM. Thank you for coming. It's an honor to have you us today. So today, our theme is probing the secrets. The secrets is, we can imagine it as a metaphorical onion, and we are peeling the layers to discover the secret. And we have with us our master chef of innovation, Dr. Charlene, who will be helping us to discover the secret sauce in this perpetual era, which is the theme of our topic. So without wasting further time, I now request Dr. Charlene to come on stage and please share us opening remarks and also about innovation.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cyberjaya, the Silicon Valley of Malaysia. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to TM's Innovation Center and to TMR&D's 4th Tech Mocktail series. A special thanks to our chairman, Dr. Zainal Abidin Puteh, chairman of TM Group, and my fellow speakers and panelists, Tunku Ali Zakri, Benjana Capital, Jeffrey Chu, Paramount Corporation, Ms. Joanne Rodriguez from Affin Bank, Azizan Abdul Aziz from Bank Islam, Azlina Idris Paynet, and Andrew Chong from Hong Leong Bank. Not forgetting Karamjit from Digital News Asia for taking time off your busy schedule to be with us today. We started this mocktail series as one of our many initiatives to decode and drive innovation through knowledge sharing and engagement sessions with industry. Now we started with telco because that's our core, and then we ventured into different industry verticals like utilities, fleet operations, workforce management, OSH and safety, and now banking and financial services. Many would look at an R&D and innovation center like TMR&D and probably envision either a bunch of crazy-eyed Tony Starks, running around building cool stuff in some basement somewhere, or a very middle-aged, pouchy, balding James Q, like from James Bond era, developing innovative products for, helping Bond get out of difficult situations. To be honest, I look at TMR&D as a bit of both, a combination of both. We have a blend of seriousness where we support TM and a lot of the core businesses that we are doing, a little bit like Tony Sparks, and a dash of curious, maybe a bit edgy, and sometimes a very big dream, big mindset, a little bit like Q. And if I were to take personas for, from outside of the, TV characters, Steve Jobs is someone we look at as trying to create something that the businesses didn't know they needed. Just for context as well, TMR&D is the research and innovation arm of TM Group. We were incorporated in 2000, which makes us 23 years old today. And what is special about TM, and I have to say this not because my chairman is here, but because it was a long-term strategic vision of the TM Group and the board of directors and shareholders to invest in R&D and innovation almost 23 years ago. And today, we all know innovation is acknowledged as the most important economic driver and differentiator of any organization, at an organization level and beyond that at a country level. Dato' Zainal was speaking about China and how China invests a lot of money in innovation and started years ago in R&D. And in some of the key economies of the world, a lot of the brains, now I'm saying that, comes into R&D first and then moves out. That's where they learn the nuts and bolts of technology and how to apply it, and then move into the business. Yeah, and we would like to see that here. So, and I also want to make a clear distinction because people kind of get confused about what is R&D, right? R&D in TMR&D anyway, in my organization, it is not what we do, but it is the how we get things done. Research is the methodology that provides structure, provides principles, provides the mindset, the vision board, the ecosystems, and the business models. In today's world, it's the business models that makes all the difference, that forms the foundation of a successful business. R&D, I am from R&D, so bear with me. But R&D is essentially the building block to transform our nation from being a mere consumer and reseller of technology to a builder and exporter of technology. The ability to create new technology and solutions is the catalyst that will make our country a high-income nation and a net exporter of technology. Now, in the past, when a nation talks about security, three things makes the top of the list: military security, energy security, and food security. But today, technology security is the most critical risk for any nation, because technology is the underlying catalyst that can change how we consume energy, how we grow food, how we protect all life forms on Earth, how we protect our national biodiversity, and how we increase the global competitiveness of our nation. So now the key question on innovation is, are you driving change or are you being driven by it? I cannot answer that question. To help us break down this topic, I'm very happy to share that we have industry leaders here from the banking and financial sector to break down innovation for us. And I think that's really apt because it is the banking sector that has really led, I feel, the change in digital innovation more than 40 years ago. Imagine ATM machines. 40 years ago, they already had ATM machines nationwide with real-time bank balance reconciliation. And that is something that's digital. They also had online banking, or the first to introduce online banking on web. And then the first to have an integration between a telco and a banking services with SMS tech. Yeah. Then web portal and mobile app handshake. So that's another broker or ecosystem that was built through the banking system with secure TAC. And now almost all banking functions on app. And a lot of businesses have not even ventured into a secured, seamless experience on their mobile phone. So in this perpetual transition state, how are banks overcoming legacy pain points and seizing new opportunities in their digital journey? First up, to answer that question is Tengku Ali Zakri, who will kick off our session answering the big and bold question of how innovation works. And I think to all of you, Tengku Ali Zakri needs no introduction, with over 25 years of experience in senior management role, managing a 250 billion USD fund size, and with the ringgit the way it is today, that's like $1 trillion, $1 trillion. Probably the only person I know who has an Excel sheet that, in the footnote, it says * trillion. All of us, maybe million, trillion. Also a champion on wildlife conservation and sustainability, and today the chairman of Bencana Capital. I'm truly honored to have you here. I'm also delighted to have, after Tengku Ali Zakri kicks things off, an illustrious panel of 5 bankers. First off, Jeffrey Chew, Executive Director and Group CEO of Paramount Corporation, former OCBC Bank CEO, a founder of a peer-to-peer financing platform. This is almost a 360-degree experience from traditional banking to a disruptor of banks, and now property conglomerate. Ms. Joanne Rodriguez, Group CFO of Affin Bank, another super impressive resume, being the only banker I know that takes on a Group CFO role and then takes the bull by the horns and say, I will lead the big data and analytics team at Affin Bank. That's going to put all of us out of a job. CFO doing, technology. Azizan Abdul Aziz, Group CFO of Bank Islam, ex-KPMG UK, experts in merger and acquisition. And I was told if Azizan had stayed a little longer in the UK, he would have given Rishi Sunak a run for his money as PM. Azlina Idris, Senior Director of PayNet, a fintech blockchain expert who is an active advocate of women empowerment and innovation in the financial sector. Thank you so much for being with us today. And finally, Andrew Jong, Managing Director of Personal Financial Services, Hong Leong Bank, to complete the panel of over 20 years of diverse professional experience in the banking sector, consulting, manufacturing, e-commerce, and then conglomerate management. I wonder what that is. And who better to moderate this panel of experts than Mr. Karamjit Singh himself, the former editor of Net Value at The Edge and founder and CEO of Digital News Asia. Thank you so much for being with us. Without further ado, my absolute honor to invite Tunku Ali Zakri to the stage and breaking it down for us.
Hi and good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm missing a clicker. Clicker, yes, thank you very much. I don't think we've got innovation enough to control by the mind yet. Still need our clicker. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me over here and to just share my thoughts on innovation and maybe also share some of the journeys that I've gone through that hopefully will be able to then assist you. So if you can bear with me, the first part of my short talk will just share the academic aspect of it. So let's get that out of the way. And then we'll get into the meat of it, which is some of my past experiences, which maybe you could take back with you. So what is innovation? Because I think a lot of people don't quite, get a lot of mixed messages on what this is. So guess what? I used Bing Chat GPT to come up with what is the definition. But you know what? Surprisingly, it actually came up with not a bad definition because the first one is it was process of creating something new or making something better, right? And the second thing was, I love this one, is push boundaries and challenge the status quo and pave the way for advancements that shape our lives and society for the better. This was more about how I used to go and use the mantra for change at EPF. And I will share my experience with you during EPF and how we did innovation there. Yeah? So, you know how it is, a lot of, comes up with big. So I said, you know what, let's use me as a person on what the definition of innovation is, because I'm so tired of talking about other people, so I'll just show my picture. And actually, seriously, for me, it's really imagination is creativity implemented. Because at the end of the day, you need to go and have imagination. You need to have an idea of what you want to have in this very indiscernible future. And what is most important is it must be implemented, because otherwise it will just stay as dreams. Yeah, so that is important, the creativity and the implementation. So why is it important? I'm speeding through this because I want to get to the good part. So Tony Fernandez, notwithstanding all his massage photos and all that, I think he actually knocked it on the head also. Why do we need to do innovation? Because it's really a huge business opportunity also, right? So finds opportunities and opens his minds to different perspectives. Remember, he thought about Air Asia was when he was studying and he couldn't come back from UK to Malaysia, because he couldn't afford it. And he said, everyone should be able to fly. And that was the seed and the idea and the dream that he used to have. And he implemented it, right? Which required a lot of tenacity and so on and so forth in order to go and bring Air Asia up. Business success, of course, you all know about this one, create new products, expectations, blah, blah, blah. Social progress. Because you need to be able to have innovation to go and handle social issues. And I am a big, I I'm a big criticizer of the state of social security in Malaysia, because on the face of it, lots of things work, but actually it doesn't. And if you really think about it, okay, social security, very quickly, 101. Social security is shelter, health, income security, nutrition, education, mobility and technology, digital gap. So there will be a pop quiz after that, and that will be one of the questions I'll be asking you guys. Yeah. So in Malaysia, on the face of it, it seems to be the case, like in terms of like, was it medical? We have universal healthcare, right? Everybody is able to go and get access to healthcare. But the big question is not about whether you can go and you can get healthcare, but it's accessibility. If you were to go to a government hospital now, you can get treatment. But guess what? You have to wait, what, if you're lucky, 8 months to go and meet up with a specialist. Hopefully you'll be able to survive that, right? So I'm not going to go into all the terrible details, but what I'm trying to get at, this is the opportunity for you to go and find where innovation can then cover up the blanks. So example like Grameen Bank. Who would have ever thought in Bangladesh you'll be able to go and make money from banking with the unbankable, right? And when they went into it, they actually found out in Bangladesh, women, they focused, very targeted, their customer was women, because men don't know, like, you give them money, they disappear off, But women will always do what they're supposed to do and actually give the money back to the bank. And they make tons of money on that. So this is where, for you, spot and identify opportunities where things don't work. And to a certain extent, I think that's why Malaysians are much more innovative than Singaporeans. Because Singapore, everything works so well, I'm not too sure there's something to clap about, actually. It's a sad thing, actually. Okay, and also, of course, it boosts creativity, confidence, blah, 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 okay? So, now this was when I was in management. A lot of people used to go and talk about, oh, kita kena innovate, kita mesti negara yang inovasi, kita mesti blah, blah, blah. But there are different types of innovation. And actually, as an organization, you need to recognize which parts do you actually want to address. And just because a person doesn't do the parts that you want, it doesn't mean that they are not being innovative. And I use this model, I came across this model to maybe help us out, okay? Now, on this axis, it actually talks about how much changes you would actually make to the infrastructure on really the core of how you do things. Whereas on this part is in terms of the components. Okay, you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? So let me illustrate. By the way, in most organizations that I have been in, the expectations has always been this, right? By your bosses, your chairman, this is the innovation that we want. But actually, most of the times, the innovation that we do is this one. It's small, little incremental things. Is it right? Is it wrong? No, maybe not necessarily, okay? Now, let's go into some of these components. When you talk about architectural innovation, if you were to go into the core of how you do things and you completely turn it around, but you still achieve the same objectives of what you're supposed to do, but it's just done differently. An example which I can give you, I'm looking at everyone here, you're all fit and healthy, so you will know what I'm talking about. Peloton, right? You all do Peloton, right? I'm looking at all the super fit people here, right? So it's basically, especially it works during COVID, wasn't it? Whereby you're supposed to do, you still do exercise. In the olden days, what do? You go to the gym, you would change your baju semua, but it's a fixed location provided by the gym, right? But they decided to go and change it. You still be able to do your gym, but now you still be able to do it at home, utilizing existing technologies. This could have never happened 10 years ago, okay? So you need to also make sure that your underlying infrastructure for the services or products that you want to deliver is already there in place, okay? So this is just one quick example of what that meant in that quadrant. What about this quadrant? This quadrant is really about the components. At the end of the day, so an example is a computer. The computer will still look like the same, right? The CPU case, the monitor, but the innovations are now happening in the different subcomponents of it, Radical information. So for example, the hard disk drive. Last time it used to be, what was it? I can still remember what 200 gigs pun I was like, wah banyaknya, you know, and then it become 1 terabyte, right? Wah banyaknya, but you still remember tak? You picit the butang and you wait for 5 minutes for it to boot up. But now with solid state, it's literally the minute you press it, boom, it comes up, right? We haven't even started talking about quantum. Now, quantum computing, on the other hand, it radically changes everything from a component right down to infrastructure. But just to keep things simple, right? Different components of the entire universe of product and services is also innovation. Of course, now the holy grail is this radical innovation lah. For me, my thinking of what it means is what we all do, I'm quite sure, especially Safura, is Lazada and Shopee, right? Completely changed the way we shop, how it is delivered, how we paid, how we have price discovery, so on and so forth. Total to me was this is a major, major shift. So can I just go back? So for us here in management, owners of SMEs, businesses, leaders, please be very clear on what type of innovation that you're actually focusing on, all right? And the type of communication you would then give to your team. Because there are pros and cons for you to go and do this. This one, like what Charlene was mentioning, you need tons of money and time, and you need to go and have a huge tolerance for risks and failures. Whereas this one, which is what a lot of Malaysians do, is we actually do incremental innovations, right? It's not wrong, but you might not be able to get there in the time frame. Okay, so be very focused and identify the areas of the innovation that you want to focus on. Okay, let's now go. Story time. So the big question here is, I'm not the 70-year-old dinosaur. I'm only 53. I'm not 70. I'm talking about EPF. EPF is actually the oldest provident fund in the world in existence. Do you believe that? It even was in existence before Malaysia was born. Yeah. At the time when I was administering it, it hit 1 trillion ringgit for the first time in history in December of 2020. So that was the first organization in Malaysia of hitting or big a trillion-sized asset. So a lot of people will say, hey, if it ain't broken, why fix it? Right? Seems to be so powerful. So we needed to go and find out, why do we need to innovate? And to me, innovation is normally driven by two things. It's driven by fear and it's driven by excitement. And how do you balance it out between the two? So we started to think about, what's the fear element for a 70-year-old giant with 1 trillion ringgit? We extrapolated changes of our customer behavior. Who are our customers? All of you, right? The ones who are mandated as formal sector workers to go and contribute a part of your salary into the EPF system. But guess what? Digital economy came into play. You know, people who are able to go and be digital nomads came into play. Freelancers came into play. And also young people's attitudes started changing, because they are like saying, why must I give some of my salary to this company that I have no idea what they're doing, and I can only get access to it when I'm 55? Are you out of your freaking mind? So we started extrapolating that with the rise of the gig workers, after a while, contributions will start going down. Not only that, we started seeing the rise of Grab. Grab started becoming the betul-betul Grab lah, you know, they grab everything under the sun. But who are their employees? Literally, all of these Grab drivers who totally fall out of the social security system. They are informal sector workers, which is not covered under SOCSO, who has no insurance. I'm sure you're all in the banking, you know how undercovered they are, right? Who would have no credit records. You know, as bankers, you need to have credit records before you can buy homes and all that. How the hell are they going to be able to be covered? Okay. In terms of the employers also, the ones where we would actually get that money from also, they were changing rapidly. Again, with the rise of the gig economy, you can actually do your business in UK, but actually provide services into Malaysia very, very easily. You don't pay tax, you don't pay EPF. So we actually extrapolated and we actually found out that if things were to continue business as usual, EPF would be out of business, meaning zero contributions within the next 20 years. So 70-year-old dinosaur needs to change, right? Or else it will be a dinosaur and become fossil fuels. Okay. On top of that, excitement. We started looking at what did EPF actually have that nobody else have. We have your data. We know how old you are. We know where you work. We know what position you're working on. We, to a certain extent, sometimes we also know whether you have more than one wife. Because nominations. You actually start putting, your nominations and all that to more than one person. So we're like, who is this lady here, right? As an example. We also know data from the employers. We know the size of the business you're at. We know the employees that you have, the salaries that you pay them. We have data. So which was why in 2016 we decided to start transforming ourselves into a digital organization. And what we would then be able to do is not make use of your data to make more money, but is to make use of your data in order for us to be able to enable members to have a better retirement at 55. That was our vision, to enable our members to have a well-being, for their well-being. So what did we do? The first thing we did was, we said that we needed to have more interaction between a customer and EPF. So we started looking at you guys not as members, but as customers. How many times do you guys would actually look at EPF? How many times a year? Once a year after I declare dividends, right? Betul tak? Once a year. You tell me for any business, once a year you come and say hello to me, can I stay in business? No way. So we needed to go and increase that interaction level. Creating a digital platform, that was one area. And the other area which we went on the other end of the spectrum was, we created retirement advisory services, whereby we did customized retirement advisory for each and every one of you to prepare you for your retirement future. Because as I said, Social Security sucks in Malaysia. So you need to be able to take care of yourself. Datuk, sorry, as I told you, my words are very unfiltered. It comes out just as it is. So we came up with the retirement advisory services, whereby you can go to most of the EPF branches, make an appointment and meet up with the officers there who are qualified. And we did that just transition. We upskilled our clerical staff from just doing chopping, chop, to now being financial advisors, certified financial advisors in Sharia and conventional. So all of a sudden, the excitement of our staff started going, wow, we also can innovate. We can innovate in ourselves and invest in ourselves and also be relevant in this new future of EPF. So we launched that and we were the second in the world to do it after Korea. And we won the first, the World Pension Summit Innovation Awards. This is the Oscars of the pension world. Okay. And then on top of, remember, we talked about the employers. So we said that we now needed to go and start getting used the data of the employers. But how do we incentivize the employers? Because the employers, or you as SMEs also, you pun kata, ayah tak nak lah, nanti they really know what I'm doing, right? So we needed to go and provide value for our employers. What did we provide value? One of the things we found out was that employers were always complaining, susah nak pergi bayar EPF ni. Very difficult. So we said, you know what? We'll create another digital platform, which will now enable you with one click of a button, automatically do your cash management, HR administration. So all of the SMEs don't need to go and buy what's the HR punya, you don't need to go and buy all the software. It's provided for free and it's on cloud. And with one butang picit aja, boom, you can already pay everything, including your income tax. So we were not so much attacking we were saying that we are going to make your life as a business owner easier. But the big grand plan, well, at least during my time lah, now dah tak tahu lah, we wanted to go and create an ecosystem whereby you as employer, katalah you are a bakery. As a baker, we would now be able to go and say, hey, you know what? You actually need to go and have cheaper products, right? In our ecosystem, we actually have a flour manufacturer. Why do we matchmake you? We'll do the Tinder of the SMEs lah, you know? So all of a sudden, SMEs will actually say, find value. Say, hey, you know what? By being part of the EPF ecosystem, it also drives costs down. And then we were, of course, also the grand plan was, we wanted to offer it to the individual members. Because we are saying, remember, we know you now. Suddenly, we have a young guy coming up to go and take out some money to buy a car, right? Of course, young people, especially a guy, wants to buy a red, flashy sports car, right? As always, I went through it, so I understand, okay? Now, the thing is, because we know you, and we say, hey, hello, bro, you just got married, right? You just got a child, right? Do you think this is the best time for you to go and buy a flashy sports car? You still, if you want, we can still send you down to our ecosystem of a car dealership. And if you're an EPF member, you can get X% discount off. Would you all of a sudden say, hey, EPF is bringing value now? It's not just taking money from my salary? Okay. However, EPF must not forget its mandate. The mandate is we must ensure that you have a good retirement future. So what we can actually do, by the way, if you actually buy a cheaper car, which is a cheaper car, which is within your price range, because we know your life cycle, we know at what age, we know what your responsibilities are, which will be able to plan for your financial future, we'll throw in another 5% discount. Go to this other dealer. So all of a sudden, wouldn't that be of value to a member? To be part of the ecosystem, and all of a sudden your engagement with EPF from just once a year, all of a sudden becomes part of your daily life. So that was where the excitement came from. Remember I said driven by fear, because we are going to be out of business very soon, but yet at the same time we can also create a lot of business if we do it correctly. So on that we actually did the e-payroll. I don't know some of you SME owners, if there's any here. We actually did that, and guess what? Won another innovation award for that. Sometimes I'm like wondering, how come these people don't know? To us, it's like so easy, you know. But again, it is being driven with the correct mindset. Now, I want to challenge you guys. You all want to talk at the organizational level, but I want to challenge you. When was the last time you actually innovated yourself? When was the last time you got out of your comfort zone and actually reinvented yourself? You need to ask yourself that. That happened to me in 2021 when I was sacked, right? All of a sudden I was top of the world, top of the dogs, by the way. I pick up a phone, everybody jumps up, literally. All of a sudden I was out of a job, just like that. So I had to reinvent myself. You have a choice. You either sit down, wallow and go into despair, or you sort of like pick yourself up, check your existing strengths. Remember I said, like an organization, so check your existing strengths, check where the white space is, invest in yourself and re-pivot. And in my case, I started going like, maybe I need to start going to the board role. And also in the areas of sustainability and also digitalization, which I have a big background in. So Charlene, if you want, I can help here on contract boleh. Datuk boleh ya kerja dekat sini. So you need to do this every year. You need to reinvent yourself, because if you can't even reinvent yourself, imagine you want to go and challenge reinventing your organization. All right, so all this sounds wonderful and great, isn't it? But innovation also carries risk. It carries risk from a financial perspective. Tons to do innovation requires tons of money, right? And are you willing to go and put all your money into one basket? And will your board, who has shareholders, would they have the patience to actually say, "Oi, kenapa tahun ni tak kasih dividends? And why is it not so high?" From an operations perspective, again, those of you who are in operations, you do not like disruptions to the way you do things, right? You just hate it. Innovation requires you to break things. So how do you then do it in a way that does not disrupt your operations? I think some of your panel members will be sharing with you on some of the thoughts on that. Regulatory side, Ex-Bank Negara also, Bank Negara over there. Regulators love to whack you guys if you don't follow, okay? So, and they can take away your license, just like that. Reputation, especially in Malaysia. Tall poppy syndrome. You tell what is the tall poppy syndrome, right? Where your head comes up, everybody else is down there, is the first one to be chopped off. Okay? But that's the requirement of an innovator. An innovator is the person who sees things that nobody else sees, right? And has to have the courage to stand up and do something about it, and have to take the consequences. Like if the the machete comes down, your head will roll, but you need to have the courage for that. And that is from that personal perspective also. And lastly, as I said, a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, and a lot of grit. Because there's going to be a lot of people who will resent you for, changing status quo. A lot of people have said, I spent years trying to become a master at what I'm doing now. Suddenly you come in and you tell me I have to change things. Are you able to go and have the compassion and empathy to also change their mind? Because you also have to put your yourself into the shoes of the people who are going to be disrupted by your innovation and ideas. Okay? So there's a lot of the risks here. Don't do innovation for the sake of innovation. Make sure it is business driven. And when you actually do it from a business driven, you need to make sure that you understand the reasons of why you're doing innovation. Is it because you need to protect yourself? You need to make sure you're not obsolete and become a dinosaur? And or is there an opportunity out there that nobody else has seen, and you need to work fast and quickly in order to grab it? But one option that you guys do not have is to stay still, because staying still is the best way to get shot. All right? If you for hunting, you never stay still. Okay? So that's the last of my slide. Have I run out of time, or guys, are we okay? And I shall say thank you very much.
I would request you to stand there. Thank you for sharing us a different perspective of discovering the secret sauce, which is for innovation. What is innovation? Why is it important? And different types of innovation. Risk in doing the innovation. Thank you very much. But I request Dr. Sheldon to come on stage, and with our chairman to come on stage, please. For us. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Our upcoming guest is already a well-known figure, but let's take a moment to formally introduce him. He first joined The Edge, Malaysia's premier business publication, in 1995, and covered a number of areas before specializing in telecommunication sector. In 2000, he was appointed editor of the highly regarded Pullout, a position he held until March 2012. He founded Digital News Asia with a vision that media should play its fourth pillar. Please welcome Inche Karamjit Singh as moderator for leading the charge in banks in a perpetual transition state. Now I request Mr. Karamjit to call the moderator.
Okay, he's given me the mic now, which is not a good thing. The MC gives the mic away to the moderator. Okay, great. Full control. Anyway, we're going to just quickly get this road on the show and bring our respective panelists on board. I think Prof. Charlene has already gave a bit of biodata on them. I'm not going to waste time. You can check their LinkedIn. So just in sequence like this, Andrew, could you come and join me on stage, please? And then Joanne, please. And then Jeffrey. And then Azlina. And then the unconventional, okay, Lucky is wearing socks, okay. Come, Azizan. Yeah, he's wearing shoes, yeah. No, not red shoes, so okay, great. So look, so this panel is, I think somebody said, hey, Karam, there are 5 people on the panel, too many. I say I agree. Typically, right, you would have, but you know, this in a way, it's a panel about banks in a perpetual transition state. So obviously, you can tell there are only 3 bankers here. Of course, one ex-banker, right, you know, who's now a disruptor. But the banks is easy. You can understand why the banks are here. But we also then thought Jeffrey would be interesting, Paramount Corporation, because it's as brick and mortar as a business can get, right? And they have a CEO also who's formerly from a brick and mortar background, but they've invested in a digital disruptor. And actually, the company they invested in, which is Fundastic, actually the Sendirian Berhad is called something, but the market name is Fundastic, actually came about in, I think, 2017, 2018. So Jeffrey decided to invest in them during the pandemic. So kind of interesting why he decided to do that. And you know, of course, it's a space he's familiar with that. So we can find out from him later. Now, Azlina is the odd person out because by virtue of organization, hey, she's not a bank, right? So what's she doing here? But because they are our national payment, you know, infrastructure network, but she can share actually from outside, right, about the impact she feels disruption is having on the bottom line of the bank. So she'll offer a bit of different perspective. If you're wondering why some people don't fit in the box, right? And this is also not supposed to be a discussion in the box, okay? All of you play a very important role to participate, to share. And once they're done also, they're going to network outside for a while. Please, you know, if you don't want to ask a question, you can go outside and ask them. But it's great if you can put up your hand and there'll be a mic and you can ask a question also, okay? Take this opportunity to be interactive with them. So, you know, 5 people, but I've only got 2 questions for each of them and 1 for Azlina. And then we will wrap. And the questions are individualized. After speaking to them, asking them something, the last 2 questions are rapid fire. So you have chance to ask questions, okay? Please don't just leave it to us here. And okay, we're going to get started now. So Andrew, I will ask you the first question, right? And it's, of course, underpinning this, they may not use the word technology and innovation, but of course that underpins everything that they're doing. And I see Charlene gets it and she's nodding away. So hopefully some of the rest of you do also. So Jeffrey, Andrew. So let's go with the first question. Okay. So there is this perception, right, that banks being tightly regulated are slow to adapt to change, especially change driven by rapid technology innovation. And you know, you had Ali Zakri talking about that, right? The various risks of innovation. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, I was just, you know, I was telling Karamjit earlier in the week, there is a perception issue, right? Banks actually spend, with 2 CFOs here, I think they can vouch for it. We spend tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions a year in terms of our technological advancements. And the level of that investment is not always visible. And what drives innovation, if you think about it, if I could give an example, I think one of the biggest drivers of change in the last few years actually was a virus called COVID, right? And during COVID, many things had to change. Number one, banks, our entire IT system, our entire infrastructure, our entire asset were built over decades to collect money.
Yeah, of course.
Right? To the day you're a little bit late, or even a day, if your behavior is you're always a little bit late, we will start pinging you and we'll start collecting money. And when the COVID pandemic hit, we had a moratorium. With the moratorium, what that means is we literally had to stop all our systems and tell our systems not to collect. And the level of technological enhancements required to effect that single change from the front to the back was tremendous. And it was a bank-wide effort, and we could get it done within weeks. We could parameterize different things. We could stop things from compounding. So that was massive. And second thing was we were essential service. We were open, but people were not visiting us. But we had a fundamental mission of still delivering our service, of intermediating financial flows in the economy during that time. So what we had to do was to take our entire infrastructure and our systems, our branch systems out in the shape of a tablet in order to facilitate our consumers and our users in a safe and secure way that they could still transact and bank with us. So that again may not always be thought of as ostensibly very innovative, because like Tunggal exactly said, innovation, people always think the big ideas, but it's actually fundamentally changing the way we deliver our services, rebrand ourselves, and how we think about improving what we do on a daily basis.
So in a way, that change was forced onto you all, right? And you all were able to respond those, because I think you already had a certain amount of the infrastructure, like the architecture was already in place, right? And that was just your normal, or not your normal, but your existing digitalization journey. But the pandemic brought, like the whole world, right? Brought everything to it was the world's most efficient CIO, right? Because suddenly everybody
exactly.
was.
I was just going to say that. Yes, it was.
So it starts with the CEO, so CEO, right? It's the world's CIO. It's incredible. So okay, so I understand that. Joanne, just quickly getting on to you now. We were discussing. Hold on, I gotta keep my phone off. Okay. So as we were discussing, right? Because Joanne again is the CFO. I said, hey, how come your bank is asking the CFO, right, to be part of this panel? And then I realized that we're talking. Look, being innovative and adopting technology, right, is now the entire C-suite's mandate, responsibility. No more just CIO or CTO or CDO. And I was sharing an anecdote earlier about, the dark side to companies having CDOs, right, Chief Digital Officers, amazing. But coming from a core finance background, right, Yuan, when did it click for you? That's what I asked, right? And your team, that you guys have a greater role to play in both, right? Both meaning innovation and digital, instead of just accepting the tools given to you by your technology team, right, your innovation team. And how are you, Joanne, the CFO of today, different? This is the second part of the question. Different from the CFO or the Joanne CFO of like 5 years ago.
Okay, all right. So let me.
Don't say you're fitter because you use Peloton now, right? That's not the answer we're looking for.
Okay, I'll scrap that off my answer.
Okay. Oh, lucky I brought that up.
Well, coming from finance, from a finance perspective, 5-10 years ago, if you were to look at your finance department and what you want from your finance team, it's always been reporting. So, just give me the numbers you want. I need to see whether I'm making my profit. And we're very good in coming up and telling you that, okay, so how have you done this today versus last year versus last month? And if we're extra good, we probably can tell you why, right? So that used to be, the traditional expectation of finance. But, when you talk about, the move and the movement towards more forward-looking, companies now look at other things to measure success. It's not all about just the plain financial numbers. There are other things that come in, and then when you talk about data now, it becomes a bigger aspect. And suddenly, from a finance perspective, our most favorite tag, the mighty Google, the mighty Excel, no longer works, right? That's the accountant's favorite tool. And you start to realize that you need something more powerful, and you need to have something that will facilitate the ask of the finance team now. How do you forecast what drives the business forward? Which area do we need to look at now? All these questions, all the different scenarios that need to do. You can't do that with the limited data and what comes out from the GL only, the general ledger. So, with that understanding, so that process has started, at least 10 years ago, maybe now it's 5 years ago. And, technology has always come to the front line first, because it's always about customer experience, and you innovate faster in the front line, and the back always has to catch up, either manually first, and then only it comes in. So come a time where we realize that we must future-proof, from a finance perspective, and that's when we started realizing, no, we need to get better technology in. And in fact, in Affin, we have just recently gone live on our new entire, what we call the financial platform system, where we have a new GL, we've got a procure to pay system, and a whole budgeting system, and everything now is on the cloud. So it's all connected.
And recently, like Dr. Charlene was just saying, we also took up the mental to put in the big data for the bank. We've just finished our phase 1. So we're working through that as well, and that all comes under finance, and we are
Why
trying
did you
to...
take on that responsibility? You couldn't have, but it's not like the chairman is going to pat you in the back and say, great job and thanks for doing this.
Well,
I'm so intrigued by that. Very bold and brave of her.
Well, no, data, invariably when you have that argument, especially in banks, who is in charge of data? There'll always be an argument, and somehow it comes back to finance. Now, the idea here is if you leave data to the technology officer, one is too much because they have to worry about the tech, how to get things into the data lake, into the data enterprise and all that, right? The warehouse and all that. And then on top of that, you want them to be in charge of data and then do something with data and monetize it, right? So you need a neutral party. And in that sense, we thought, okay, if it's driven from finance, it's neutral. And we have that appreciation of how important data is and what we can do with data, the potential for revenue generation with the data, monetizing that data. So that's how it's ended. So now I go to your second question.
Yep,
well,
second
how's
part,
the
yeah.
Joanne now different from that?
CFO, yes.
I've become more tech aware, right, for sure. I understand things like ETL, which if you ask me 5-10 years ago, what is an ETL is completely different, right? What a landing zone does and, all the different components in the cloud. So I'm a lot more aware and also a lot more aware of what kind of new tech that is on the market. I read more about it than I used to do ever before.
Wow, interesting. Becoming like a Swiss Army knife master of all trade, man. Yeah, excellent. Because everything is now a tech thing, right? Everything is a tech thing. So you almost have to have that, skill set repertoire. Okay, so let's move on to Jeffrey, right? The former banker who knows this industry very well. But before I ask you that, thank you, Dato' Zainal. So I was actually wanted to highlight that Dato' Zainal, just came on as the chairman of Telecom. So many things to do, and he decided to come for this, and he was walking around the exhibition, listening to what's happening there, and even spent some time for the panel. So great. Shows that you've got the right hunger to learn and understand this organization better. Well done. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jeffrey, look, what was the catalyst for a very traditional brick and mortar business, and not just traditional but very successful, right? You imagine back when Jeffrey came on board as the CEO of Paramount, let me see, 2015? Oh, 14, okay, right? There was no digital threat to education and to property, right? And yet they decided to embark on that journey. So just want to ask you about, what was the reason you decided to do that when there was no obvious threat to the organization?
Actually, I'm not too sure whether it's true to say that being in property or education in Paramount is a very successful business. I think I came from the banking industry for 22 years and I left because of some different reasons.
Yep.
Probably you look at the history of the previous CEOs, I'm the only one who only stayed for 6 years instead of the 9 years. I'm glad that I came to that industry where I realized that it's very tough. Education, half of the tertiary education were making losses, private education. Property development guys, you think they have high profit margin, 15%, 18%, but people forgot ROE and ROA. You take 6 years or 8 years to complete your project. So they are all trading at 30% of their book value. So I see that these two business really potentially is bad and potentially is going to be even worse. Okay, so the question is that how do you innovate? How do you change the course of the company? So to me, when I left the bank, there are a lot of things that I think the bank could do, but we couldn't do because of certain regulations, certain infrastructure and so on. Things like, for example, you cannot lend to companies in like Tanah Rata, Brinjang, Jerantut or whatever because it's just too expensive, right? And how do you reach these people, give them something that they can actually use to build their business? Then of course, in terms of investment, I'm the CEO of the bank and I got my wealth manager comes to me all the time and say, boss, please support. So I buy some of the wealth products and Whole and below, I lose capital, 30%, 20% loss in structured investment. I said, where is the real investment products that people can really make money on? So when I went to property and education, I said, I thought it was a better industry. No, it's even worse. Okay, but I knew that technology was coming. It's on its way. And the only way that any organization will survive, you must digitize, leverage on technology. And why do you want to digitize? There's 3 reasons. One is that you want to get more efficiency in your process. And driving efficiency means that your cost will be lower. You maintain your jaw as the market becomes more competitive. But second, you also could serve your customer better, which to me, in the past as a banker, I think we are sucked at servicing customers. Okay, today I still complain about a lot of foreign banks. Unfortunately, I'm quite happy with local banks. Fortunately, yeah. The third thing that you digitize and automate is because you want to actually reach customers where you cannot reach, the physical mode, whereas in digital you can.
Correct.
So these are the real 3 things that you want to do. Of course, the last thing that you could really do is collect all the data and use AI to produce much more better products, better customer service, and better profitability for yourself. So that's a 3+1 thing that you could do. Okay. So that really drives me to think about, if I don't do any of this, how will property business will become in the longer run. So that's where we decided that what we cannot change, we sell if there's a good valuation. So we sold all the education business. Our tertiary, our K-12, we sold it all out. We got a good valuation. We decided to stick to property. And that's something that I learned today, that we want to actually change and digitize on a modular approach. Component by component. Start with sales acquisition, start with project monitoring, start with things like we could actually do e-procurement, slowly, little bit by it. But we also felt that journey can be very long, can be very frustrating. So we decided to look at what radical type of innovation we can do. Radical. And that's where the things that I like to do, which I couldn't do in a bank, we could do. So that's where, when we founded the fintech P2P, peer-to-peer lending platform, we decided that this is one area that we could invest in because it's completely radical. And it also could do things that I personally want to do as a banker. Reach to these small, tiny little SMEs in Toronto, in Tanah Rata, Brinjang, all over Malaysia. In fact, today, based on the 4,000 SMEs that we have, we are lending to all these guys out there, and able to do it with a good profit margin for the business. Secondly, we also believe that we do not just want to innovate in anything. We want to innovate in areas that we have domain knowledge. So we are in the property business. We know the property business very well. We know the education business very well, been there for 30, 40 years. So we say that we want to invest in business in these 2 or 3 areas where we could go through into a business where it's completely radical change. So we invested in an e-learning platform online. It's an Australian startup who does the online learning. Fortunately, we did it in 2017.
17.
Yeah, we lost our pants. We are already impaired.
At least you were brave enough. Thank you for being honest to admit that. Give him a round of applause, right? Fantastic. Nobody want to eat. We made the investment and he always say we did so well. I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah, every quarter I have to tell my board how much more impairment we make, even it's only left 3%. That's the challenge of staying steady in it. Then we have one that we are on fantastic peer-to-peer lending. We are breaking even. Then of course we got one that is still losing money. So to us, our strategy has 2 prongs in innovation. One, you actually innovate within your own organization. That's do it modular. The other one is go through radical. The advantage of having 2 approaches is that you can see the difference. You can see what a radical organization will look like and what works and what doesn't work. And then your own organization with a brick and mortar, when you try to transform, what are the challenges? But one day we'll get there. And that's where we enjoy a better cost efficiency. We are able to reach customers where we couldn't reach, as well as also we can actually serve them better. And that's the motivation for me and also for the company.
Wow.
All my board of directors believes in that.
Really? Oh, great. No, but I'm listening to you and I'm thinking Azizan and Andrew and Joanna are getting chill when see this fucker is already after our customers, right? Hey, we also got customers in Toronto or whatever. So it's amazing because lean and fast and willing to take risks. So it'll be great. Please be spontaneous and respond to him also if you want to, right? So I given them the freedom to be spontaneous to respond to the answers other give also, right? Now I'm going to just go to actually Azizan first and not Azrina yet, because Jeffrey, you mentioned regulation, right? He was frustrated in the banking environment with regulations, and Azizan actually asked me to ask him this question. He said that you believe that banks, no, because we want to create questions where they can share meaningfully with all of you, and I agree with that, right? This is not hard talk where I'm going to put them uncomfortable or get them, they cannot answer the question, then no point for you. So this question, and I wouldn't have thought to ask this question, and he says that, he believes that banks are being protected by regulations, and that if it wasn't, it would be a different ball game, and he even predicts that deregulation will happen. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, what is this guy smoking, man? So will happen, right? Not, I think it may happen. So and that's really bold, right? But since you believe that's going to happen, how has this guided, right, the bank's decisions in making its, a journey in this perpetual state of transition, in the right direction at least?
Okay, my background previously, I was in Deloitte, and then I was leading the fintech practice as well as advisor. And then when I jumped into the bank, and then of all banks, it's Bank Islam, and as you all know that. Why
you say that loud? All banks, Bank Islam.
Yeah, because people always have the perception that Bank Islam is very much like very slow moving and very conventional with the way they work.
Also very religious, you'll be wearing, your garb and come, right, in green robes or whatever.
But yeah, when I first joined, of course, there's a lot of technological lag that we are facing.
Sorry,
right?
what year did you first join, just so they know?
2019, end of 2019.
So still quite recent, actually.
Okay. Right. I think I'm the less experienced compared to most of the bankers here. Okay. And one of the things that I realized that our GL system, our reporting system, is since 2007. It's not being updated, so
it's frightening, man.
Right. But even worse, the procurement system is still on manual, right? last time when I first joined, but now everything is automated, right? Okay. So the first thing
you must have been very unpopular, right? Everything now automated, like Tengku Ali Zakri said. People don't like change, especially middle management, man.
So the first thing, because they want to embark into a digital blueprint, something like that, and I'm not a digital guy, right? Okay. So the first thing I was thinking that, even before we upgrade our reporting GL system, our core banking and so on, I do believe that we need to upgrade or even automate our procurement system. And then one of the board members jumping, it's like you are having a car without a roda tak ada ke, Azizan? It's like, how come you buat procurement first and then the GL system comes later? But I just go through it. I said that this is based on my assessment, this is the right thing to do, and so on. So we managed to get through the procurement. We managed to implement it and make it up and running. So
you're lucky to convince the CEO first, right?
Yes. Correct. And now they can see why am I doing that. Because without that, your digital blueprint going to run for the next 10 years. Because you cannot procure all your infrastructure.
All silos,
Yeah, because that's where the priority needs to come, right? You need to know what is the priority. Of course, putting your head on the chopping block, and then they even say that you are not an IT guy. How come you are suggesting this? But for me, it's all about the vision and try to know what needs to come first, right? Same goes with regulation. When I first joined, of course, when I was an advisor previously, it's a highly regulated industry. Last time you can't even trade using from mobile phone, for example. Now you can always go, just one click, you can trade and buy stocks and so on, right? But the regulation will evolve eventually to cater with the technology. Same goes with Grab. I used to advise Grab during the early days, my taxi at that time, during my Deloitte and KPMG days. First of all, you have the taxi all around. They have their own association and so on, right? Although there's a resistance from taxi drivers, but eventually when technology comes, when everyone is on board, you don't have any choices, right? Because consumer will dictate which direction the industry will go, and where to put the money, for example. I think that is what is going to happen to banking. We are not going to just facing competition from banks among us, but also non-banks.
But you are lucky, right? Because you saw that way back when you were advising Grab already. You could see it coming. So in a way, you had that visibility that Andrew and Joanne didn't yet back in 2012, 2015, 2016 even, right?
Okay, when I was a student at university, at that time, I still remember Nokia, even though they are no longer in existence, right? I still remember they want to try to create their own bank. You can deposit your money through their whatever handphone and so on, and then you can buy things at the store. That was when I was a student about maybe 20 years ago. Maybe you can guess my age then. Right? Wow. That was 20 years ago. So people have been thinking about it long way back.
Yep, decades
ago. But it's just that no implementation, like Tengku Aizakri said just now, no implementation, nobody's doing it, and so on. So I think that's the thing about regulation, is going to evolve eventually, and the demand from the consumer will dictate the market, right? And like what Joanne said, I think the competition from the margin perspective, right? Now, margin is very thin. We need to innovate. And I'm sure in the future, the regulators will have to force banks to innovate even faster. Wow. Fail fast and innovate fast. I think that's where...
And that's why you think the deregulation will further come, right?
Deregulation will further come, yeah.
Alizaki, if you want to jump in, if you want to say something, right, go ahead, right? Or if you disagree.
I thought my job is over.
No. In terms of just being spontaneous, if you want to, yeah, right, you can. So that's interesting. Okay, thanks a lot. Let's go to Azlina, right? So I told Azlina, hey, how do I fit you into this conversation, right? So this woman is super confident. She's got an international MBA that took her to 4 countries or whatever. So I said, wow, okay, I think you can stand on your own, right? Okay, but the question, and I told her, look, I'm only going to have one personalized question for you, and this is it, lah. Because she told me something interesting. She said she could already see the impact on the bank's financial performance, right? From their journey to becoming more digital, more customer focused. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and in being innovative also. So I wanted her to talk a little bit about that, how she saw that visibility. And she also wants to talk about what she thinks coming next. I see maybe got no time, but I think she's going to say it and answer it anyway, lah. So go ahead, Azlina.
Okay, thank you very much. I think before that, maybe just a bit of introduction. PayNet is actually the national retail payments infrastructure. So what we do is that, we run the normal systems that you see. The more, recent, famous one is Do It Now QR. Okay, so My Debit, JomPay, Direct Debit. So what you do with banks on an interbank basis must go through our rails, and that's actually for efficiency reasons, right? So the odd thing about me is that in my office, I'm known as AI. So whenever you have a management conversation, they're going to say, get AI to do it. Then I say, not me. It's the artificial intelligence, go do that. But the thing is, nothing.
What you can do, you can tell them, because my friend's initials also like that. He said, Karam, I'm AI, but his AI is, I'm artificially intelligent. Don't say artificial intelligence. Then they'll get scared.
So I have a different view. There's nothing artificial about me. It's maybe augmented, but then, So there you go. I mean, that it is what it is. So because of my initials, I can't afford to stay rigid or stay still, and otherwise I'll get shot, right? So in a way, when to answer your question around what do I see, there's actually a huge shift that you're seeing right now, and there's actually 3 clusters that I see on the horizon. There are banks that are staying steady, stay the course, and say that no, my loan books are good, my deposits are good, there's no case for change. I'm going to stay the course.
Wow, right? That's really brave, man.
Yeah, that's very brave,
banks that are in that cluster.
Yeah, but that's already in the minority.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, and it's eroding really, really fast.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's number 1. The middle group is like, I'm staying on the fence. I'm just going to see how it goes, and let's see what pans out. And this is the group that's seeing their loans and deposit growth on the 50-50 side, right? Now, there's a very small slither of banking institutions that see the growth trajectory, that see that the next wave of growth is not going to come from fintechs. It's not going to come from the non-banks. It's going to come from the big techs. So that's your big hairy gorilla in the room, right? And that's what you need to be prepared for. Now, in most countries, if you talk about digital wallets, the largest wallets either has a fruit in front of it, or it has a G in front of it, yeah, or it has a robot in front of it. No prizes for guessing, right? So if you know that the common enemy, so-called, is that's outside the room and not in the same club, there is a case for change for everybody.
Interesting. Just to cement that, I was moderating a panel with the head of strategy for Maybank, and I think he's now still in the C-suite. And he said what keeps him up at night is not my competitors in my market, is if Facebook, Google decide to offer payments in this country, that what keeps him up at night. And he didn't even bring up WeChat or Alipay, which is also real threats here.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. I mean, the thing is we need to also be aware what are we good at, right? And if we are good at maintaining the customer service, so be it. Best of luck. But then I don't see any customer app that's on a bank that has the higher rating compared to the ones that is a fintech one.
Really?
I'm sorry to say.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so customer satisfaction score is readily available.
Yes.
Just look it up, right? So that's the second case. And the third case for change is more of the risk and rewards kind of space, where you see a lot more fraud going, a lot more scams going, a lot more mule accounts going. And that's where, that's actually the highest magnitude that calls for collaboration. And in that space, that's where PayNet comes in, right? So we have, this thing called PayNet Secure. We just, kind of like branded it, but the thing is it's been in place since 2019, 2020.
Okay.
And it simply has three components. One is actually about mule accounts, right? Nobody can actually stand on their own by doing their own mule tracing. Because when you move accounts, when you move money, and this is actually to combat, money being dissipated, because it's a scam, right? It goes through many, many banks, right? So that's the bigger picture that we need to be very, very clear of. And you cannot afford but to collaborate in order to make things happen, right? To stem it. So everybody came to that conscious decision and then came to a landing to say that, hey, we need to build a fraud portal. And no bank should own it, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to own it together, right? I think I'm out of time maybe. So
Can just, because that's also the security level that allows them to move faster when there is that trusted central authority, right?
Yeah.
And nobody has a extra power over manipulating or using the data, of course.
Exactly. So that's the thing. The bigger picture around that is that the case for change is so dire that people are losing money over scams. But the thing is, if you look at the numbers, it's not as high as losing money to things like default rates, the normal stuff. But then the fear is there. So there's actually a case for change. And from a case of having zero capability to trace mules, because of that industry collaboration and innovation, you then have an 80% chance of recovering your money back.
18%,
1/8, right? So
I'd rather not lose my money at all, right? It's
exactly.
18% chance.
So now we're actually building a predictive model, again another set of innovations where we can actually trace the money, right? Because the thing is, at the end of the day, what will happen is that particular mule will then withdraw the money from an ATM somewhere. So you got to see which ATM is most susceptible to that. Because the thing is, the single point of your strength lies on your weakest link.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So this is actually a classic case of innovation on a collaborative level. And that is actually for the benefit of the country. Right?
And so, for all your member banks also, so that's great, because security is a hygiene factor, right?
Exactly.
I mean, no car can be sold unless it passes the stringent, right, safety test. So what you're saying is helps the three of them, the bankers here,
Yeah.
innovate and even move faster, right? So no, they don't have to depend on their own internal departments to make sure their security protocols are the highest level of standards.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
you want to wrap up so I can move on to
Yeah, so,
to the good
so
question
okay,
for
that's the thing, that's the danger
Andrew.
of giving a mic to me. So there you go. One last point. What I'd like to put forward is actually the case that, when it comes to this kind of, collaborative efforts, even an industry utility like us, we are just a utility,
Correct.
we're an infrastructure, right? We too need to innovate. So I'll just stop there.
Okay. Everybody needs to innovate. Yeah, great. It's a given, right? Okay, hey, Andrew. I love Andrew's title, right? MD of Personal Finance. You know why? Because then he gets to see. Jeffrey, sorry, what did I say? And I wonder why, man. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So look, so you're MD of Personal Finance, right? You've got a front row seat, right, in terms of how the new products and services are being received by customers. But yet you have very traditionally, I would say you have very little input in shaping these services and products. But then he told me that 5 years ago, a paradigm shift happened. So please explain to them, right, the trigger for this paradigm shift.
Yeah, I think like many organizations, maybe about 7 years ago, we set up the Digital Innovation Office. You have a Chief Digital Officer, and that was always the mandate of the Chief Digital Officer, right? But I would say, now in 2023, we are disbanding that office because
This year lah.
yeah, we're disbanding that office because today it is just part of what we do. We don't even use, 7 years ago, we have this tagline that says digital at the core. Now we don't even say it. It's just what we do and how we do it. It's part of who we are. It's how we breathe and how we get there. So that required a lot of mindset change and to actually have very specific programs and activities in an organization that galvanize that. If I could give you an example, PayNet has been a wonderful partner to us in bridging the cashless transformation of different marginalized communities across the country. So I think innovation, is a big word, right? But to us, we always start with the basic question: what is the problem we're trying to solve here? And the problem definition is very, very important. If you get your problem definition wrong, you're going to be committed down an innovation path that is going to cost a lot of money and actually get it wrong.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, we saw a rapid adoption of QR codes and all that, right? And we also saw the polarization between those that got on it, particularly in the urban communities that adopted it very, very fast, and those in the rural communities, in the villages or semi-urban communities that are left behind, right? So therein lies a problem to solve. And to solve that problem, it required us to really work as a team across different units and departments, from deposits and digital to debit card to the QR guys to payments guys to the digital guys, the guys who work on the tablet to deliver solutioning to the community, right? So together with PayNet, we went into communities such as Sakinchan. We launched the Cashless Sakinchan program, where we galvanize our people who will be, our ambassadors on the ground and advocating the use of technology and QR code to the merchants, to the small farmers, to the guys, traders, small micro SMEs in Sakinchan about the benefits of QR. And you have to prove the thesis to them, right? Because it's like, okay, why do I need to change, right? Just give me the cash. And we demonstrated to them that, look, if you've got only 50 ringgit in your pocket and you want to go and buy the fish or the guava, that's all the guy. There's only so much the guy can buy with 50 ringgit. But if we could connect you using the payment rails and QR and all that, we are able to deliver the wealth that is in the urban accounts to you, and they can buy a lot from you. But that requires a big shift in the way you think about how you're going to deliver solutions to the ground, because people think digital is for the sake of digital. Now, actually, no. Correct. The answer to that was phygital. Because you are dealing with humans, it's one human at a time, one trader at a time. Yeah. It takes 45 minutes to onboard them and communicate with them and teach them how to use all these different tools and apps that we give them. So there is that ability to say, hey, we can use technology to enable certain things, but the delivery of that right, is where we need to be actually quite creative in how we solve some of the problems on the ground.
Okay, Ashley, I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, so disruptor again. So yeah. What he mentioned just now is actually cashless Sekinchan, which is under our cashless Kampong program. Now, in order to make that happen, is that we manufactured something called the National Interoperable QR. When you have that QR, the one that looks like a snail and is in fuchsia, right? You can scan any wallet and any banking app. Now, what Hong Leong Bank is doing, and no prizes for guessing which box they fall under, and when I said it just now, right? Innovator.
Correct.
So they actually, all they need to worry about is actually to find the use cases for it, an innovative way to find the use cases, and we have that utility, security, and they just use it as a tool. Okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah. No, but the Sekinchan one was interesting because I happened to be there. They organized a media tour, and you know, to get your, I think there are 800 businesses in Sekinchan, and it made me realize how much for you to go digital and to try to be innovative, how much of it is hand-holding and is the physical part also, right? Because I met some of your sales team, and said, wow, and one lady said so tiring when she said what, cry tears of blood, because try to persuade people, right? You knock on the door, they don't want to layan you, you feel like you're selling insurance, you know, right? You're selling chapati, hey, come buy my thing. And it was amazing to see, but I said, wow, but this is what it's going to take, right? And also in that wet market, you know, there were some guys who were using it, some didn't. One fruit seller, I went up to him and said, and because I can speak, I'm from Penang, I can, Hokkien wa tampo, right? So I go and ask him, hey, whatever he say, and then he said, my customers, he said, customers only pay me like below 5 ringgit. Why won't you use that? So there's always a reason why you don't want to use. But my question to you is that if they start using it, are you able to give loans to these people who are running this, you know, small stores in these wet markets? Then that's the ultimate. Then you bridge the gap, right?
Absolutely, right? I mean, you know, more than 92% of Malaysian adults have a deposit account with in the formal banking system.
That's really high, right?
Yeah, but only 40% actually have a credit facility with the banks, right? So that's the problem you're trying to solve. And as a lender in the market, when a customer comes to me, more often than not, it's already too late because I need to make the credit, I need to approve the loan. Now, whatever is either you're thin file, either you don't have anything, or you already have a credit record, and I can make an assessment out of that credit record, right? And likely or not, you know, you probably have 30 to 40% of guys that have kind of simple, straight through, you can actually approve. The other 60, 70%, you have to make the case. Right, so when you have small merchants like this, it is actually about micro, right? Micro. It is about building the data points and the information that will assist you to make that facility and that credit available to them. The simple thing is we always tell them, as long as I can see the ins and outs, the debits and the credits, and over a period of time, we can make intelligent deduction about your creditworthiness, right? In lieu of the credit scorecard or secrets which you may or may not have, right? And the ability to then close the nexus between how a person, these kind of micro SMEs, they behave like an individual, but they're also running a business. Yeah. And to see the movements and payment flows of how they actually manage their personal lives and their business life gives us a very rich source of data and information for us to do that. We've got the products. What we need to do is to build the highway that will allow us to put those products on the highway and reach these guys.
Okay, interesting. So just quickly, a question for you, Ali Zakri, actually. No, because you mentioned EPF, you mentioned gig employees, right? So, and you said and you mentioned Grab wanting to be a bank, and how, because at least with the likes of these gig employees, you can see the amount of money they earn, right? So at least money coming in. Has that, when you're with EPF or even now when you're thinking out of the box, has that given you any insight to say that, hey, actually these people are also, they're all micro entrepreneurs, right? They own their own car, most of them. Is there an avenue you think that one day they can be an addressable market for these three organizations to even lend to also?
No, at the time when I was still around, you know, because it was so early on, so the data being collected was just too little. But I think before you even go into that, you need to look at the intermediaries to get them on board. So, for example, at this point of time, it's not good enough to just talk to the Grab drivers. you need to also incentivize Grab itself to become part of the ecosystem.
Of course, yeah, that's a given.
And you
yes,
need to go
correct.
and make sure that they actually see being part of the social security infrastructure is actually a positive for them. And the story, the PR that we spun to them, when, if I remember, I went to see them personally, was to go and say, no, I'm not that powerful. You know?
Anthony Huiling are the two founders of Grab.
You know, so it's basically to go and say, you know what, you're going to go and be having so many of these competitors coming up to go and come up with also offering exactly the same type of services. Like during that time, Uber was still around.
Okay.
So the one thing that you can actually offer to your Grab drivers is the ability to also say, every time you pay or you make a certain amount of money, we will give you a smaller amount, not so much like what is mandated under the EPF Act, but give you a smaller amount to contribute back into EPF. So suddenly it becomes a competitive advantage for Grab to be part of the social security infrastructure. So like what Azlina is saying just now, you cannot just go, you know, it's a lot of work to go one-on-one knocking on door, thinking they're selling Chichong Fan or something like that. You know, you actually have to engage the entire ecosystem in order to go and make your innovation work.
Okay.
So maybe to add on to the point, disruptor again, I'm sorry. Grab is on our rail. They are a payment ecosystem player.
Wow, Grab's coming after the three banks where we better watch out.
So yeah, I think conversations like that is quite common. Touch and Go is on our rail, Shopee is on our rail, Boost is on our rail. Yeah, so do the disruptors like Finaxis, IP88, GHL, you know, all these non-banks are coexisting, right? So just now what was mentioned around credit scoring. So among the things that gig workers will not have is a pristine track record, right? So they won't have that payment track record of loans, of previous credit history that one would normally have if you have a normal paying job. Now, what do we need to do to bring them on board? Now, Paynet is not a for-profit company.
No, exactly.
All profit we will plow back. We will do things to encourage financial inclusion, among other things. There are 4 things that we use our profits on. So the 4th one is actually about financial inclusion. So what do? We actually get and onboard and work with fintechs that look for alternative credit scoring methodology. What are they? It's things like, how do you pay your electricity bills? Do you pay on time? How do you pay your mobile phone bills? Do you pay on time? And the list goes on, right? So the moment you gather those bill payments, and all of those data is actually on our rail, we kind of like want to package it, and soon there will be a product. This is actually a sneak peek. You know, that you can actually gather it in such a form that it can just be ingested by our member banks to provide those financial services. So then you will have this alternative credit scoring.
That's kind of neutralizing the advantage of the digital banks then that are coming out.
In a way. Yeah, in a way. Because to me, when you provide that kind of utility and it becomes ubiquitous, then the real differentiating or differentiator or the pivoting point is actually your customer service. How do you service your customer? Because all these tools,
which Jeffrey says totally sucks with the banks, man. That's interesting.
Exactly. So the thing is, if you notice,
for the banks, yes.
If you notice the banks that's on this panel, how do they innovate? They actually separate it into a separate unit.
But not anymore.
No. Actually, if I could just address the Grab point, right? I mean, people think that Grab and banks, we are competitive. Actually, it's not. Because for a couple of years, we actually have a
collaboration,
personal,
right?
Yes, we do have a personal financing program, in Hong Leong with Grab, where we actually extended small micro loans for short tenors to the drivers both here and in Singapore.
Already,
yeah. So I mean, we've stopped that for other reasons, but that is where I think.
Oh, you stopped that for other reasons.
For other reasons.
Find out that during the teh tarik, you can find out why they stopped that.
It's not always a case that banks, we see them as disruptive competitors.
Right.
Because we all have our advantages. To them, it's about capital efficiency. We have the capital, we have the liquidity, right? They have the ecosystem, they have the riders. It's about connecting the two, makes sense, and we could extend those short tenure loans for that repays very, very fast, and it makes commercial sense to both sides. So that's the kind of thinking that I think should be the basis of how we see our fintech colleagues out there, digital banks in the market. I'm very happy for Jeffrey to bring me the micro SMEs from Gerantu or Brinjan, all that, because you know why? He will need to take them to the next level, right? And that is where the handoff to
collaborate.
banks
Okay.
is meaningful. So that because we can deploy the capital, we can deploy the liquidity, we can deploy the payment solutions, we can deploy the other assets that we have. But that last mile, he's doing that great job, right?
Jeffrey, go ahead before I ask Joanne her question.
I'd like to
Okay.
interject at
Yeah.
that point. I think the reality looks like very easy for us to collaborate with banks because we can reach very cheaply, we can collect, we can charge very high, which the bank is frowned upon when you charge very high. But the problem is that we have reached over nearly all the banks in Malaysia.
Oh, okay.
Right? And this collaboration is actually very hard to work. Why?
Why?
Because for every account that we actually put through, you have to onboard as a customer. When you have onboard as a customer, you have to go through all the compliance as though there is a bank customer for a tiny little SME who wants to borrow
Regulation, there you
25,000.
go, the big R.
Yeah. So in a way, it is also very challenging, but I think we just have to keep on
going,
find different solution
and get the
try-
regulation to loosen up or
Absolutely.
deregulation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
It's not so much about regulations, because banks, we also have a big duty to protect the industry and consumers.
that's a given, yeah.
Right? And if you think about your mobile banking, actually banks have made it very simple before. One click, everything flows,
Yeah.
right? Everything flows. That means it's also a very simple way for criminals to come in, scammers, hackers, build accounts, to come in and take advantage of that. So the innovations to provide convenience and simplicity to the customer became a weak point. And then as a result, banks in the last 2 years, we had to create friction points.
Friction points.
Friction points to stop them from coming into the system and take advantage and get the money flow out. So that is where the competitive and dynamic tension always is, right? And criminals is another great CIO, my friend.
Okay, yeah, true. Okay, Joanne, I got a question, right? You look, CFOs measure. How do you measure what's working and what's not, right? When the bank rolls out, again, new services and products, and who decides when to drop, a service or product or give it more time? And how often do you use your own, I think the word app was used, right? How often do you use your own Affin Bank? Safura, you're going to have to rugby tackle somebody now. I think they're trying to sneak out. Okay, never mind. Ali Zakir has to go. Thank you so much for sharing, sir. Thank you. Okay, so yeah.
Hello? Yeah, okay, so right question for the CFO. So, I mean, when we look at it, at the end of the year when we start the budget for the next year, so we look at the capex, right? So prioritization, always return on investment for revenues or for cost efficiency projects. What will give us the biggest bang for a buck? And of course, being a small bank like we are, we can't afford to spend on everything, so we've got to be quite judicious. Regulatory compliance kind of tech must go on. That one, no questions asked. We have to do that. Then it comes down to what we gets the most out of, what we get the most out of. Who decides?
The biggest bang, not for your buck, but for the efforts you put in, right?
Yes, yeah, the efforts and the cost as well, and then who decides? Well, we always have PSC, so PSC, Project Steering Com. So at that point, as we go along, we will know whether something's working or not.
Okay.
And then after we've implemented, then we take a 6 months, what we call a post-implementation review. I think that's pretty common.
6
yeah,
months.
So you'd see whether a particular.
Is that common also
product-
for you, Azizan? 6 months post-review? Is that standard? Just kind of curious to see. Okay.
That's about it, basically.
Andrew says yes. Okay. Same, Okay. Fine. I thought they were challenged. They say no, it's 3 months now for us.
They make us do it.
Okay.
And then we'll see whether what we put in is working or not, and then we'll make the decisions there.
Okay.
So you asked me whether I use my app. Yes, I use it every day.
Oh, your banking app, okay.
So, and of course, there's a lot, and the digital team will also complain that I do give a lot of feedback.
Really, that's good.
I think from Affin perspective, we are coming from behind, right? We're
Why
small
behind?
to medium. I mean,
because
we've always
small,
been, one of the smaller banks.
Yes, true.
Tech-wise as well, we've come, quite a long way since since I would say the new management has come in and all that. So we've done we brought it, quite a lot of things. And for us, we always just want to be better than we were yesterday. Right? It's always trying to be better. I mean, there is a long way to go if we were to compare ourselves to the bigger banks and, like to what Hong Leong has as well. So it's about being better every day. So if I were to look at Affin 1 year ago, if you were to step into an Affin branch a year ago and open a bank account, it'll probably take you about 30 to 45 minutes to get a bank account. But today you can do it in 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Yeah. So, we slowly put in tech to help get it,
Tech has
better,
to,
and make the process better. I'd encourage anyone to try it, test it out, and always open to feedback.
No, actually, how many of you are Affin Bank customers? Anyone here Affin Bank customers? Oh, okay. Hey, all right, man.
Not bad.
Hey, not bad, man.
Small bank. Yeah.
Okay, for a small bank. Okay, 7 minutes. Cool. Okay, so let's move on to Jeffrey. Right, the second question for you, and this is about why did you or Paramount see the SME lending as a market opportunity, right? When you decide to become a disruptor through your investment in Fundastic.
Okay, I think maybe I just want to comment the good effort that Joanna does in terms of using your own product. I think as a bank, to improve your own customer service, the directors board should insist all senior management to buy all the products, mortgage, current account, fixed deposit, investor, to see what type of services that you actually, the pain points that you're actually making it so difficult for your customers to actually deal with you. I think that is the comment on that. For us, why did we focus on SME? Okay, the reality, like I said, okay, before you try to innovate, don't try to innovate something from your field that you are not in, okay? Don't try to become a banker to innovate where you guys come from. You got to innovate from where you have some domain knowledge, some experience, some network, and more important, you must know the pain points, and you must have a passion to fix the pain point. Then you innovate. So for us, like I said earlier, it's only 3 areas: education, property, and fintech, because I'm from that area. That's where we have the experience. But why SME? SME is because from my 22 years in banking and in the 3 organizations, whether it's OCBC, Citibank, I always has been involved in trying to see how we can actually support the SME market. And it's very sad because the reality is that, I was in corporate banking, SME banking and so on. It's so easy to lend a corporate because every 20 million loan, you only do 1 credit paper and you get 1% spread, is already 2 million. 200 million is 2 million per annum. But when you do a small SME loan of 85,000, how much? And your cost of seeing the customer, write the paper and all that, you just go bankrupt.
Wow.
And that's where bank finds that they don't like to do this segment. Then secondly, fraud, the scam, the mule accounts and everything that you see, it increases the cost of your credit cost. And you find that you need to charge very, very high. And when you try to charge very high to justify your return and to support the SME, you know what the community says? I sit in a small debt resolution committee in Bank Negara, where banks, when you cannot get your loans repaid, you go and see the bank, and the bank cannot resolve, you come to us. We will help to talk to the bank to resolve your problems on NPL. The problem, when we see some banks, okay, again, foreign bank charge 10% flat, meaning effective about 17% interest rate per annum on SME. I say, well, what's wrong with that? Because it's unsecured, okay, and the risk is high. There's a high NPL. They need to make sure that they make decent return.
Yes.
But I got people who are in the rest of the community says that banks make billions of dollars per annum. Hong Leong, how many billion you make? Why are you torturing and terrorizing and bullying the small SME? He said, no, let's talk to the CEO and tell him these practices cannot continue. Again, I said, well, if you tell the foreign bank, that foreign bank not to do it, then who is going to support the SME? Yeah. Then I said, I'm going to stop my comments now because I'm in a fintech. I'm charging more than 20% for unsecured term loans. Because I need to justify, because the return needs to give back to the investors. The investors are funding the loan for banks, the depositors. So I said that I'm not going to comment anymore. If you want to keep on pressuring the bank, that's fine. All the business come to me. I'm quite happy. No more comments. but that's where I feel that there is still a huge gap in terms of supporting the SMEs and also the rural areas. And there's a reason why we felt that this area is an area that we can actually still have a space before the banks and digital bank comes in a big way. Secondly, we also want to be very focused. We don't want to be focusing on consumer, corporate, SME, micro SME, and everything, payments. You just focus on one area and build the ecosystem. What we hope to do in 5 years, 10 years down the road, we want to know every SME who are willing to take a loan. Whether we give them the loan or not, it doesn't matter.
But
we
they're
want
willing
to collect the data.
Wow.
We want to see what are their performance, where they are at this point of time. And then by the time 5 years down the road, whether are they still around for those that we didn't lend and for those that we lend. So we want to collect those data, and not just for lending alone. It's also to create new products. Exactly what Azlina, you said about the data that you can sell, can create better customer service and so on. So that's the reason why we are focusing on Fundastic, focusing on micro SME, not even SME, micro SME. And
that's your 800,000 over businesses out of the 1.2 million. Yeah. So look, we've got a few more minutes to go, right? 2 more minutes. No, I got to do the last wrap up. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. So just quickly, Azizan, based on what Jeffrey was saying, right? Not Azina, sorry, Azizan, as a banker, do you think he's right that for you guys, it's just so much more difficult to handle these kind of micro SMEs, not even SMEs, let's talk about micro SMEs. Because I would think a lot of your customer base is also rural, right? I could be wrong. Maybe it's a perception.
Yeah, because of our customer base, mainly in the East Coast, some of them, yeah.
So geographic specific mainly East Coast. Okay.
One of the way to tackle that problem, usually the shareholders of the bank, they're always worried about the capital charge to the bank when you go for SMEs. So that's why we created this platform that we call Sadaqah House. So it's like a sharing platform where you can use charity, you can use wakaf, because we have a lot of instrument under Islamic finance, right?
Yep.
And it's off balance sheet as well. So you don't have to show it within that. It's just that we use and leverage on the strength of us assessing the customer credit worthiness, right? By having the data that we through BU or through all other means, right? And like what Tengku Alizaki said just now as well, women usually are better paymaster. So that's why when it comes,
Grameen Bank, right, proved it from decades ago.
That's why I made a joke the other day. I said that when it comes to SME and business, I'm a feminist, right? But yeah, definitely, because the data really shows that, right? Because they are the better paymaster. We clearly know where the business is going. They never, I would say, skip any payments.
Yeah.
So we need to be a bit more creative when it comes to providing service to our non-bankable customer, actually. So that's why we have Sadaqah House. And every year we issue the impact report, whereby the charity giver, they can see where the money is flow. And it's very, very, I would say, it's on a published basis, and everyone have access to it. So we make it transparent.
Okay.
So people don't have to worry about, okay, whether I'm giving this to the right place, or is it for education, or is it for small micro entrepreneur. And when it's quite transparent. So we use that as, because at the end of the day, for banks, it's all about trust.
Yeah, of course, that's a given. Okay, look, we got to wrap up now, but I had actually 2 last questions for the panelists, which is all of them to answer, but I'm only going to ask one, and I asked them because of their experience and their journey, right? What tip, right, could they give you based on their journey, right, in trying to innovate and trying to be disruptive and just trying to deliver a better, more relevant service, right, to their customers? So maybe I'll start with you, Andrew.
People. I think you've got to surround yourself with a wonderful team, and people forget that ultimately beneath all this is actually a people business.
Right? So much about digital and AI and technology,
it's actually
right?
People. To have for instance, a CFO that understands how the business, what the business drivers are, and how to tweak some of the ROI, and how to measure some of the impact, how to measure some of the returns. Something as basic as that is very critical. When you don't have your own internal ecosystem and the right kind of caliber of people that enable it, it's going to be very, very tough.
But you already have your existing people, right? That means you're saying that you just got to win them over on the importance of what you're doing, right? That's all it is. When you cannot like change these 17 people out of my 40-person team. No, I'm going to replace them. No, right? Because you have to work with what you have, right?
You have to work with what you have. Be smart about the choices that you make. Be specific and focus on the problems you want to solve. and be programmatic about the programs that you want to initiate. And so all this come into play, and to have the right leadership and tone from the top in terms of what we want to achieve.
Joanne, what one tip would you give?
Really, don't underestimate the need for change management. And it ties into your people point, because to me, tech is hard, but tech is easy. People are hard. Wanting to change the process that they're doing. In fact, what we find is a lot of people tend, when you say, I'm going to bring a new tech, the people want to build what they're doing manually into the technology, and customize so that they get exactly the same process that they're using today. But when you bring technology, you want to completely change the process, right? So then change management comes in. And if you don't handle change management properly, then people won't know what to do on day one. Yeah, so change management is really important when you implement new tech.
Both are very soft issues. Interesting. Jeffrey, for you, I think this is easy for you to answer. Yours is.
Yeah, I think for people who are driving and leading the transformation or digitization, it's a long journey and it's a tough journey. And when you either as a non-performer or the failure for that, you either have to adapt the implementation, but you got to continue on, and you should always treat that failure as an ingredient for a bigger success. That's what I can say, and stay on the course.
Stay on the course. So failure is not a reason, excuse to say, okay, no, stay with BAU, business as usual, no. Okay, great, thanks. Azrina?
I would say my key advice would be innovation is actually both a noun and also a verb. Right, so the first one is a verb, because you have to have that innovation mindset right throughout. It's not a job that belongs to someone, a KPI. It's a value, right? Be curious, be aspirational, and be courageous, and have grit to make change happen, right? So that's one side of the innovation. Is a verb. Now the other one is actually a noun, because you have to create the space, the safe environment for which you can fail, be agile about it, kill all the regulations around it, create that safe space and environment so that you fail fast, fail safe, allow yourself to grow, and hence you can see what can happen from there.
Nice. Okay. Last word to.
For me, it's prioritization. You cannot
prioritization.
You cannot innovate every single thing. And secondly, it is the joke that I always tell one of my board member. I like to innovate to make myself obsolete. That should be the aim, actually, because I don't want to be a CFO for the rest of my life.
And they'll just use frontier AI to replace you. I just learned a term yesterday. I think in wrapping up, there's a conference going on in the UK now with like 28 countries, and Rishi Sunak, I think all of them came out with a statement to say that they are very worried about frontier AI. Interesting, not generative AI, right? That's where you get questions using, I think, exactly ChatGPT-4, right? You cannot use ChatGPT anymore, ChatGPT-4. A frontier AI, they said, is something dangerous, and we got to put guardrails around it or whatever. So it's all still evolving, right? So it's a tremendously exciting space for them to remain relevant and to deliver better services to the market, right? And you got a disruptor here, Jeffrey, happy if they don't, right? He's going to carry on taking the market. So, but also all of you, I'll end with that. But just remember that here in TMR&D, and I like to say, is that actually this is the temple, right, of R&D in Malaysia, right? The temple of the high IQ people. So please go and network with the people out there, network with these gentlemen and ladies, right, while they're still here. Very important for all of you, right? And I think we're going to end with are we still doing that photo session?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I will request you all to
I'll leave it to you now.
Yeah.
Pass it over to you now.
Thank you everybody for letting us know how banks are leading in this perpetual transition state. If I may say, ma'am, Puan, now I know why they say you AI. It's because of your acronym. Yeah. Well, so we'll be having a photo session. Thank you very much for letting us know how things are happening in banking. I had a few questions, but I will ask them later, especially about Credit Square. credit score for foreigners and foreign student, which I'll keep it for later. From anyone has any questions for our panelists, and anybody would like to ask anything? Yeah.
Okay, I have one question, perhaps specifically for Andrew, Joanne, and Chazizan. I'm Gaddafi. I'm from TM1. I'm the sales director managing the banking and finance. I used to deal with your CIO, CTOs. I only met you guys during the contract renewal negotiation, which is honestly not my favorite moment. Okay, my question will be, I'm sure you highly involved in the digital blueprint of your organization. But along the way, there is one big consideration that you need to focus on, which is the RMIT compliance from Bank Negara. And it keeps on enhancing. I'm using positive words.
Changing.
I think the latest one was June 2023. So how do you guys manage the priority when the changes comes in? Because it is a compliance that you guys need to meet, right?
Okay, maybe, and it may not even be on some of the radars also, but who wants to take this question then?
I mean,
okay,
I just talked about it. When it comes to regulation, there are no questions asked. It has to be done. When it comes to Bank Negara, if we don't comply, they will come down on us like a ton of bricks. So RMIT is paramount. Yeah.
I think another part is basically having a constant communication with the regulators. For sure, we have limitation as well. For example, the timing, the resources that we have. As long as we have a clear plan, the objective and prioritization, I guess the regulators are willing to listen. So,
okay, thanks.
Thanks for asking the question.
Anyone else? If none, yeah. Okay. I now request Dr. Charlene to please present a token of appreciation to each member. So, one by one. Okay. We will have a group photo later.
Okay, group picture now.
Group picture. Yeah. This is behind up. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
A very, very big thank you to all panelists for being here, Karamjit, for an excellent panel. We learned so much from all of you, and it's heartwarming that you actually shared your experiences, your challenges, and your advice to us on how to move forward in innovation. Thank you so much. Thank you. And there's Teh Tambi outside. Please, the refreshments goes on. Yes, Teh Tambi and popcorn, I think. Yeah, something different. And hopefully you can get to see our showcase. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Downtown. Oh, they don't know. Downtown. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to get the color red, the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Hits the toe so clear. Look out. Second best for the hustlers, gangsters, bad bitches, and your ugly ass friends. I cannot preach, I cannot preach. I gotta show them how I pimp get it in. First, take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't shit. Ooh, ooh, we too fresh. Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? What y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Hits the toe so clear. Look out. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad. Now, watch me break it down like, 24 karat. What's that sound? Come on now. 24 karat, 24 karat magic. Fight the feeling, invite the feeling, just put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? Tell me what you're trying to do. 24 karat magic in the air. Hits the toe so clear. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Hits the toe so clear. Look out.